let's get into it. Again, my name is Chris Lema. I'm the VP of Products at Liquid Web. Today, we're talking about e-commerce segmentation, and specifically, we're talking about how to use a data-driven approach to optimize your store for incredible results, right? So let's get into it right away. Hopefully, you can see me as I change my screen. When we talk about segmentation, when we talk about revenue, when we talk about growth, when we talk about our online stores, most of the time, we are talking about averages, right? We talk about the total number of people that have come or the total amount of revenue the store's made or whatever. And these are broad summaries. And then we do simple math like total orders, total customers. And then we know what our average cart, average order value is, right? But those are averages. In a store, it looks like this, what you see here on the left, right? If you had 2,360 purchases, if your total revenue was just over $160,000, if you had 2,108 customers, then you would do the math and say, hey, I have a lifetime value of $76 and I have an average order value of $68. And those would all be the averages. If you want to know what it looks like in real life, this is one of the most hated cars ever, right? If you were looking at a list of the most hated cars in all of history, the 2001 Pontiac Aztek is one of the most hated cars. Why? Because it was average on everything. It was, let's try and make it a car. No, let's try and make it a camper. Let's try and make it a whatever. It tried to do a lot of things that ended up being average in just about everything, and that's not fun. So, of course, for what we're talking about here today, we don't want to talk about averages, all right? In the same data set, right? So we're talking about, if you looked at this, the data that's on the left here, this is a specific store. If I were to look at the exact same store and I stepped away from the averages, I might discover that in this specific store, 32 customers had average order values that were far greater than the average $68, right? $195 average order value for 32 customers. Also, 210 customers had LTVs that were 185 instead of 76, right? Why wouldn't you talk about those nuances instead of talking about the average? In fact, when we talk about the average, $68 AOV, LTV is 76, that's not a very interesting store, right? I mean, I'm positive that if you're comparing it to zero, that's great, right? Like, ooh, the average person spends $68 with us. Over the course of their life, they spend $76 with us. You go, okay, that's better than zero. But if I said, well, we have a segment of people whose average order value is almost $200, and we have a whole group, a segment where their lifetime value is 2 point something times the average of our store, right? You're like, that's interesting. 2.5 maybe, right? That's interesting. Let's talk to those customers, right? But that means we have to get away from the averages. And the way we do that is segmentation, right? If you want to drive revenue growth, then what you really need to understand is segmentation. You need to leverage that segmentation so that you can drive growth in those little pockets where you have something compelling to offer, something interesting to say. That's why we're here. That's what we're talking about, okay? So let me take you to a sample homepage of a store that you may know. The store is J.Crew. And if you went to J.Crew, right, at least here in the United States, right, I can only tell you my perspective here in the context of where I'm at. In the US, when I pull that up in my browser on my computer, right, everything about this homepage suggests that their target at J.Crew is women. Why do I say that? Well, there's a woman here with a dress on the left. There are 3 women in bikinis there. There are sweaters that just the color palette suggests, and the fact that they're cashmere suggests they may be more for women than men, but maybe I'm wrong, right? Then there is a wide leg crop. I assume that's a sort of pant. And there is a woman there. And then it looks like those are women's sandals. Again, I could be wrong, but everything about this homepage says, hey, we're targeting women. Except if you look at the nav, right? When you look at the nav, it says new, women, men, kids, swim, brands we love, sale, factory. After women, it says men and it says kids, but nothing on this homepage says men or kids, right? So that's fine. Okay. So what I did, given that I'm a man, right, I clicked men and then I started clicking down into the men's collection and everything else. And when I was done, I went back to the homepage. And you know what it looked like? Just like this. Exactly the same. Nothing changed at all. Okay. Now, here's the thing. Every one of us, when we're on a website, we're giving people information about ourselves, right? These are simple icons, but imagine that you start by browsing somewhere, like you're doing a Google search, and the Google search gives you the link to a homepage, and you click that, and then from there, you go take a look at the products that they're promoting, featured products, what have you. From there, you might go look at category search or use filtering to move to other products. Eventually, you take something, you put it in your cart, and then you pay. And every one of those clicks tells the servers, tells the computers, tells the store something about me. Maybe I didn't come in through search. Maybe I came in through an email, right? Someone sends me an email and it takes me straight to a specific product, right? But every step and every click that happens on the site says something about my intention and my interest. Interest and intention are what gets shared by the clickstream, right? And that's what I was talking about when I went to J. Crew, right? I was telling you I was a man. Now, maybe I wasn't. Maybe I was someone else and I was buying a gift for a man. But I was telling you what my interest was, right? Even if I wasn't telling you just about me, but the more I clicked in, if I went looking at tennis shoes or something else, I would tell you what I'm interested in, right? The clickstream tells you about me, right? Now, here's the question. If you had a person, right, who, read an article and that linked them to your product, and then they went and put it in the cart and saw the price, and then they said, no, I'm done, compared to someone who goes to your site, searches for a specific product, finds it, adds it to cart, and then doesn't check out. Would you, because both of them abandoned cart, would you treat both those the same? And the answer should be no, right? Organic buyers are more valuable than researchers. There are people who browse, they seem to want to just be up to date on the latest stuff. They're, depending on who's coming, someone who is like, oh no, I read something about yours and I want to buy it, and I'm moving through and then I get distracted, is very different than someone who's like, I'm just searching and looking and what have you, right? Or I'm Googling all the time and I'm opening up tons of tabs. People who have no expression of intent, right? Or people who have low expression of intent because they're just researching, they come to your page over and over and over, but they don't buy anything, right? And not only coming to one product page, but they're going to lots of things. They're pulling in lots of data. They may be telling you that they're at the very top of the funnel, right? Getting information, but they're not at the bottom of the funnel ready to buy. You would treat people at the top of the funnel and people at the bottom of the funnel differently. You would, right? Yet, for the most part, we don't, okay? The whole point of segmentation is to understand groups of people that are like each other that you can then target directly with better designs and better messages. If I'm at the top of the funnel, if I'm just collecting information, are you creating opportunities to move that segment of people off to another place where you can aggregate them so that you know who they are, right? Just via the clickstream, right? If I were building a site and I had a landing page that had a product on it that I'm trying to sell you, at the very top, I might introduce not just the button that is the, hey, you want to buy it, click buy now, and go straight down to the bottom where you can buy it. I might have a, do you need more information? Do you want to understand more? Are you just getting into the space? Some other button that moves everybody over there. By them clicking on that button, I'm using the clickstream to tell me something about them. And if everybody aggregates over there, then I can say all the people that came over here, I want to treat them differently than the people who came to this landing page and went straight down and started choosing the variations of the product to buy. Those are two different segments, right? Segmentation is critical And segmentation isn't always just after they've given you their email and everything else. You can actually segment people based on their behavior, right? So we were talking about that hypothetical store, right? Or that actual store with some data that I was having you think about. This is another store, right? Different dynamic. This store, right? I look at a specific segment of people, right? Big ticket spenders. These are people, right, who are 5% of my total customer base, right? Well, they're 4.8%, but you can see that, right? 5% of my customer base, but they generate almost 17% of my total revenue. And their average order is 3x for this segment. Isn't this an important segment? Of course it is, right? And whether you use a tool to do it or whether you are pulling the data yourself and separating it out, the main point of this is there's a 5% group of people, in this case, 76 customers, who function differently than everybody else, who spend differently than everybody else, who are worth a different amount than everybody else. Shouldn't I treat them differently? Shouldn't the emails they get look different than everybody else? My wife and I got married in Monterey, California. That's in Northern California. I now live in San Diego, which is Southern California. But at the time when I lived in Northern California, every time the particular hotel where we, negotiated to do some things related to our wedding, when they were doing a deal, they would send me a note. But that hotel would send a note with they were using some data, right? They knew who I was, background, how much I'd spent with them, etc. So their email would say, isn't it time to rekindle the romance of when you were here last, or what, something flowery. But it was with a deal, and I either would or wouldn't make the purchase decision within the first 2 minutes of getting that email. Like, it would pop up, and if they had a deal and it was in a timeline where I knew my wife and I had some time to go down and revisit Monterey and spend some time there, a couple days, and just enjoy ourselves, right? I would hit buy right away, or if it didn't work out the timeline, I would just close it right away. But they knew I wasn't going to make a decision 3 days later, 5 days later, 10 days later, right? So what happened? Well, mysteriously, I started getting a second kind of email, or an email that was a flash sale email, right? One of those, like, we have a last minute promotion, we have a few units left, but you have to make a decision today, right? Now, I thought they're sending this to everyone. So I called a friend of mine who on 2 occasions had come down to Monterey with us on one of those where I clicked and said, yeah, let's go. I called my buddy Steve and said, hey, Steve, do you want to join us, bring you and your wife, and let's go down to Monterey? He's like, cool, we love Monterey. So I knew that he had booked multiple visits with us at the same time. Who knows if their system even had the fact that we were together, right? That we had come down together. So I called up my buddy Steve and I said, hey, are you getting this flash sale? He's like, I don't know what you're talking about, right? They were treating me different than my friend Steve because of how much I've spent, because of how quickly I made a decision, because of potentially the kind of unit that I was booking, right? They were treating me differently. The message, the email, the content of the message, right? And how often they sent it. All of that was different because they were like, hey, this is one of our bigger spenders. Let's go after him and see if we can push him up. I'll tell you this, most of the time we tend to think, how can I get people who haven't bought to come back and buy? And by all means, we should, right? That's a segment that you should spend time with. But the better segment is the people who've shown a propensity to buy from you. Ask them to buy again, buy something different, buy something more, right? Buy something more often. The people who have already said, I like you, I trust you, I want more of your stuff, how do you get them to buy even more? Okay, so what I want to do today is walk you through some segments to consider. So here they are, right? Some of these you've heard of, some of these you've thought about, some of these maybe you haven't. The ones that I know for a fact you've heard of is the first one and the last one, right? First purchase. By all means, you know that if a person has never made a purchase with you before, you don't have their email in your system until now, right? you can send them a follow-up and give them a coupon. You can invite them back. You can give them a phone call, right? You can do lots of things because you know this is their first purchase. You can also do that with second purchasers and whoever else, right? But first purchasers you've heard of. Cart abandoners you've heard of, right? We've all heard, right? People abandon carts about 70% of the time. So we've all talked about it because there's a nice, easy lift if you pay attention to them. People who abandon a cart, right? They didn't finish the transaction for whatever reason. You can go back and chase them down, right? Now, here's the beautiful thing about cart abandoners is they didn't all leave you because of something, right? Or because of something you've done, right? They didn't leave you because of shipping, although that is a big reason why some people, they go, oh, I didn't realize it was going to cost that much to ship, or I didn't realize the timeline was going to be that delayed. But sometimes they just don't close the deal, right? They get interrupted in life and they move away. Or it's still on a tab. They're still part of doing it, except they have 14 tabs or 18 tabs open and they didn't get back to it, right? So how you follow up with them and what you follow up with them with, right? You don't necessarily have to send them a coupon to get them to close the deal, right? In the early days, that's what people did, right? We just said, I'm going to send you a reminder, then I'm going to send you a coupon. The most recent dynamic we've seen, and it came out in a study recently that I saw, that was on the 7th day, right? Monetate did a different study last year that was people will not come back to your site. You know, if first-time visitors, if they don't have a reason to, after 7 days, they won't come back, right? Like you've lost them for good. So 7 day was this line where these other guys were sending an email, and what they were sending on the 7th day was simply, hey, we're going to empty your cart. Like no harm, no foul. We're just going to empty your cart. You think, okay. I mean, I left, so who cares? Except people were using the cart as a to-do list. Like, I'm going to add that in, and then, okay, I'll come back to that. I don't want to make a decision at a rash point in time, or I need to go check on something else before I come make a decision. But it was their to-do list, and by emptying the cart, you were basically taking an eraser to their to-do list, right? And ripping it out. And so people said, oh, hold on a second. I got to click this link, go back and finish my deal. So you've heard of first purchasers, you've heard of cart abandoners. Let's talk about a couple of these others, right? Big spenders. This is the group of people whose average order value, if you took every person and took all their orders and then averaged what the average order value was for them, and then took all the people and their average order value and ranked them from best to worst, the top 10% are your big spenders. The top 10%, the people who on average spend the most with you, those are your big spenders. Your VIP shoppers, slightly different, right? These are total spend. So not average spend, but total spend. So maybe like my wife would win one of these prizes at Target. She goes to Target all the time. She never spends a lot of money. So her AOV would be low, but her total spend at Target would be pretty high, right? And you'd go, okay. And by the way, my wife doesn't buy for herself, right? She just buys for our kids. She loves our kids. I just have to tell you that, because if not, she's going to see this and go, why are you talking about me? She doesn't buy for herself, but she buys for our kids. She's always buying for our kids. And if you were to take the total spend that she's had in that store over a year, over multiple years, we might be close to the top of that, right? You want to take the top 10% based on spend. Those are your VIP shoppers, right? Typically, you do it in the span of a given year. Now, your most active customers are different. Your most active customers are people that come the most often, right? Maybe you define it simply as people who've made 3 or more orders, right? If the average number of customers only do 1 or 2 orders, and now you're like, hey, people who do 3 or more, those are seriously active. In this case, it might be less than, in the case of looking at one of our stores, less than 2% of the customers had made 3 or more orders, but they brought in 24% of the revenue. Of course, I want to talk to them, right? I mean, so I have a buddy who runs a very successful and one of the largest cigar lounges in the country, and he lives in Houston. And the thing about my buddy Jorge is, if you walk into that store and he's ever met you before and you've ever introduced yourself with your name, you walk in that store, it's like the old, I would make the reference to Cheers here, except that some people don't even know that Cheers was a TV show back in the day, but it was. You'd walk in the door and Jorge, if he's anywhere in the store, would look up and be like, "Hey, Chris, great to have you back. How you doing?" You're like, "How did he do that? I hadn't been here in 7 months, and that was the first time he saw me." When you feel known, when you feel connected, when you feel important, right, you spend more. So, of course, it makes sense for my buddy Jorge, and it's a particular gift he has, right, to remember every single person's name, right, and to treat people, even if, God forbid, he doesn't remember someone's name, he still remembers their whole life story, right? So you walk in and you're like, "Hey, I haven't seen you in a couple of months, but last time you were here, your sister was in the hospital. How's she doing?" And you're like, "Oh my God, this guy really cares. I'm going to come back. I'm going to choose to go to that place over other places because I feel like I'm known and cared for there," right? So paying attention to your active customers is critical. And then, of course, there are people who are coupon lovers. What's a coupon lover, right? People who use coupons. I have a buddy named Seth. I'm not going to tell you his last name because I don't want to out him, but Seth will spend 16 of his most valuable hours getting a $100 off coupon, right? A code that works, even though he's worth so much more, like per hour, that he should basically just buy the most expensive item and not worry about it at all, and he'll still save money. His time is so valuable, and yet it doesn't matter. For him, he's always looking for a deal. He's always looking for a coupon code. Half the coupon codes he finds, he goes to the store and they don't work, so he keeps looking, but he burns hours and hours. I don't know if he's ever made a purchase without a coupon. But you know what else is nice about people who all make purchases with coupons? They're very easy to trigger to make another purchase with a coupon, right? So these are different groups of people. These are not the only segments of people, but these are different segments of people that you could isolate based on data that you know. It's not complicated data, right? Data that you know, group people into here, and then say, what do I do with them, right? So we use at Liquid Web, we use a product called glue.io. I firmly believe that glue.io is the best analytics reporting platform for e-commerce stores ever, period. Game over. There's no one else who plays at this level. One of the reasons I love them is because they create all of these segments and a few more, right? All out of the box automatically. You plug in your WooCommerce store to glue.io and it will do all of the work for you, and it will show you total customers in the different segments, the orders, the revenue, the average order value, and the lifetime value. They'll do that. Plus, you can go into any one of these and get the actual, you can get a list, pull them out, and put them in your MailChimp or your Constant Contact or anything else, right? And start emailing them. This is absolutely incredible. When I talk to people about segmentation, the most common thing I hear is, who do you segment on? Like, we don't even know what segments to create. And I showed you just now several of them, but the truth is there are others here, right? There are others, and Glue does this automatically. Now, if you host your WooCommerce store with Liquid Web and our standard WooCommerce plans, you get this automatically. It's free. Not in our basic plans, but in our standard plans, you get this automatically. And it is not inexpensive, right? If you go to them directly, you'll find, ooh, this is for serious store owners. You go, yeah, but we made a deal, so it's just part of the price. So where you might spend $299 or $399 a month at glue.io directly, or more, right? It's included in our I think our lowest plan is $249, right? And it's included there. So you're like, wait, that's backward math. And you go, yes, it's crazy, but we made it happen, right? But you don't have to use Glue, right? You could do this on your own. You could tag customers. You could tag them in your email or your CRM systems, ConvertKit, MailChimp, ActiveCampaign, Agile CRM. You can do it with an integration using a product like WP Fusion, right? So here's WP Fusion. It says, hey, when someone buys something, right, can you please create a new contact in my email system? In this case, it's ConvertKit, right? So, but they have to be in the role of customer. So not when someone leaves a comment, not when someone signs up so they can get access to them. When they buy something on the site, they get tagged in as customer, and then using that, I want you to assign the segment, in this case, segmentation new customer, right? So when you create a new customer, give them this tag, right? And WP Fusion will do that for you, right? They will do the integration between your WooCommerce store and your CRM or email system. That's one part of it, right? Then if you're using something like Beaver Builder, you can go into Beaver Builder and you can say, hey, display this heading, right? A particular heading that you're doing, display it and only display it based on this tag, right? So for example, if they have the new customer, but if they have, they are a category spender, meaning they spend a lot of money in a specific category, and that category is bags, right? Then show them this title instead of the other titles, right? So that's amazing, because now when someone's navigating through and interacting on your site, since when they log in or when they come in and buy something and they're already logged in, as they're navigating through things, guess what? They're carrying their tags with them, and you can use that integration with the CRM, pull those tags up, and then use it in something like Beaver Builder to basically display or hide based on their tags. It's awesome, okay? Now, what I want to do is show you several different things you can do once you have some of these segments, okay? So let's get into it. You can change the homepage based on customer tags or on-site behavior. This is what we started talking about at the beginning, right? So this is Urban Outfitters, completely different store than when we started with J. Crew. And at Urban Outfitters, I did the same thing. When I first landed there, it was mostly women. Then I clicked into men's, went down into men's clothing, pants, activewear, shoes, whatever. And then I went back to the homepage, right? And you'll see I'm at the homepage because it says, oh, whoops. It says urbanoutfitters.com and then ref logo, meaning in order to get back, I clicked the logo, right? And look what happened on the homepage. Everything changed. It's all men's stuff, right? Because my Clickstream said there's a good chance my interest and or my intent was to purchase male stuff. And they went, okay, on-site behavior gave me what I need to know. Let me change my homepage, right? Now, sometimes you go, wait, how are you going to do this? So here's a simple way to do it, right? If you've ever heard of a product called Right Message lets you do a lot of stuff with pop-ups and the call to actions, right? But one of the other things that lets you do is do segmentation, right? Do segmentation, and in this case, if you visit a certain page, right, then I can tag you, right, as a noise canceling customer, or tag you with something else based on what you've done, right? So if you visited here, or if you came in with a URL that had a reference on it, or if you have a particular slug in your path, then hey, I can tag you this way, and I can tag it as the, what was the last thing you looked at, or I can tag it as the most common thing you tag at, whatever. So here's what happens, right? You come to this is a fake site. You come to the site and it starts with, hey, we sell all the best headphones. But if you spent time clicking on Bluetooth, I could show you a completely different photo with a person who's wearing Bluetooth headphones, and I can say, these are the headphones you want, right? If you clicked a lot on noise canceling, right, I can take you to the same homepage, but change the image in the background, put on some noise canceling headphones and say, hey, get the piece you want. Now I'm selling piece instead of a headphone. Who wouldn't want to buy piece, right? So I can change the image, I can change the text, and I can do it while, if you notice here, rightsell.io, rightsell.io, rightsell, this is the same domain name. I'm not passing anything on the URL string, right? I'm just changing the hero image based on your previous clickstream, based on what you're telling me about your interest or intent, right? Now, another thing you can do, if someone is a big spender or a VIP, if they have basically told you, I spend money, right? I am someone who has a high average order value, or I have high total or lifetime value, right? If I'm a big spender or VIP, why wouldn't we, when we are spinning up a page, right, when we're clicking and we know who they are, why wouldn't we give them this order by price descending? Put the most expensive products at the top. I'm not doing anything different. I'm not putting a red box around like saying, this is the one I want you to buy. I'm just saying, listen, if you're going to buy sewing machines and I happen to know that you're a serious player, I'm not going to start with a $30 sewing machine. I'm going to start with a $3,000 sewing machine. You can still scroll. I'm not forcing you to do anything. But just by appending something on the URL string, I'm going to change your experience. I'm going to put my best products on top. What about pressure, right? Well, people who research, people who browse a lot, they sometimes need a little more push. So here's what Expedia does, right? When I'm looking at a particular, I was traveling to New York recently, and I went to look at this page and I saw it right away. I went, this is brilliant, right? 60 people are viewing this room, this property right now. 74% of the rooms are booked. These little data elements, nothing would harm this page if they were not there, right? But if I show them to the right person, they may be more inclined to click the reserve button than if I didn't show it to them. So I can choose when to show it to them, right? Based on who they are, based on their segments. What about coupons, right? We know that coupon lovers love coupons. So what can we do, right? Well, there is a little product, right, called Ahoy, which is at useahoy.com. And based on what they put in their cart, based on what items are in their cart, based on how many things are in their cart. I mean, the number of options that Ahoy gives you for e-commerce is insane. But based on their activity, based on what they're doing, you can say, hey, let me get you a coupon, right? And if they don't do the behavior, then you don't have to give them the coupon at all, right? So it's not a, let's make sure that this coupon's available for everybody. It's a targeted one, which also means you can target your text, right? This is a Divi space. This is Corey is doing a Divi discount, right? And so you go, yeah, makes perfect sense. And then, of course, we talked about cart abandoners, right? Cart abandoners, people leave for a lot of reasons, but what we know is if you don't bring them back within 7 days, they're not coming back, right? So how do you bring them back? Well, we went and looked at a bunch of different players. There are a lot of players out there. We liked Jilt the best. And so we integrate Jilt with all of our plans for WooCommerce. But what's really nice is you can create, and it's totally custom, but you can create a 4-email chain, right? And you can just say, hey, I want to do, hey, there's an email for me. Then, hey, did you forget something? Then we're still holding this for you in case you want to. We could even put a coupon in there. And then, hey, we're going to empty out your cart, right? It's going to expire. And we do that 2 hours after they left, a day after they left, 3 days, and then 7. But you could change all that, right? You can change that however you want. You control everything about what gets sent, how it gets sent, what's in the content of what it gets sent. But it's incredibly powerful. It links up to your WooCommerce store automatically. And so it's monitoring all the different stuff. And we've seen lifts of 20 and 30% simply by implementing a solution for this segment of people, which are cart abandoners, right? So this is another thing you can do, right? And what we're doing is we're just walking through a whole bunch of different segments and saying, what are you doing with them, right? Now, here's the beautiful thing. With cart abandonment, you don't even have to do a discount on the actual product, right? You could do a coupon for related products, right? So, a couple of years ago, I worked with a company that was, they were selling camping gear, I think it was. And one of the most interesting dynamics was if you had put, I think it was a lantern in your cart, and then you forgot, you left it, right? You didn't close it out. They didn't send you a coupon for the lantern. They're like, you already expressed the intent to buy the lantern, so I don't have to worry about that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to send you a discount coupon for batteries, right? And particularly the batteries that work with that lantern. So I think they were like, say, the D batteries, the big ones, and they're like, I just want to give you 50% off on all the batteries that you want to buy. And people would go, oh, batteries, I need those for the lantern. Oh, I didn't finish the lantern. They come back. Now they bought even more, right? They bought the lantern at full price, and then they bought a discount instead of batteries, which the batteries had high margins, so everything was perfect, right? there's a lot you can do, and Jilt doesn't lock you into a certain way you do it. There's a lot you can do with Jilt or any other player to say, let me make sure that I'm chasing down my cart abandoners and making a compelling offer for them. And then we talked about repeat buyers. And this one is, this is a little more work, right? But what I'm showing you on the screen is a ConvertKit automation, right? ConvertKit is one of the newer generation of solutions that works with, just about any CMS, integrates with a whole bunch of other players too, lets you create these automations that have a visual workflow to it. And what I use it, right? So what I did was I said, hey, if you currently make a purchase, right, and you used to have, right, 0 before this, right? So I have a custom field in my flow for all my customers. If that custom field of total purchases is at 0 and you made a purchase, I'm going to now set your total purchases to 1. But if it isn't 0, I'm going to set your total, let's say we'll do another if, was it set to 1? If it is, I'm going to move it to 2, right? And then you can do it 3. And once you get to it's 3, I can add a new tag, which is the repeat buyer, right? Once I have the repeat buyer, I can say, ooh, based on the fact that they have a repeat buyer tag, send them these coupons, right? But you can do with ConvertKit or anyone else, you can send out emails based on any tags. So for example, if I have a VIP tag or a big spender tag in a system like this, I might send them a note to make purchases earlier than everybody else, right? So imagine that I have a store, and that store is, I'm gonna release a new shirt, right? But the new shirt has sizes, or I'm gonna release a new hat, but the hat has sizes. So I know that if I release it with everybody, different people are going to show up first, whoever's available, and they're going to buy some of the main sizes, and then my VIPs are going to get there, and they're going to be, oh, the large is sold out. So what do? I create the page, I have the product page, I have everything set, and then I put password protection on the page, right? And I send the password only to my VIPs. And I say, hey, for the next 2 days, the only people who can get in here are my VIPs. You go and you get your first choice of your size. Make sure it goes out with you. If we're going to sell out of larges, I want it to be among my VIPs. And then 2 days later, I remove the password protection and I make the launch and I let everybody else know they can come. But of course, I'm down X number of larges because my VIPs bought them first. You can do anything if you've tagged your customers, if you know the segments. And by doing that, by having the tag and knowing the segment, you can create offers that then help you sell more, which is the whole point of what we're talking about today, right? When you understand your segments and you have them tagged, you can send them better messages, you can send them better offers, and both those things will drive your revenue up. So basically, what am I telling you? Your mom was wrong. You shouldn't treat everybody the same. Some people, especially in the e-commerce world, are worth way more than other people. The real trick is to segment as many people as you can and then treat each one of them as special. That is something your mom would approve of. My name is Chris Lema. Like I said, I work at Liquid Web. I'm our VP of products. If you have questions now, I'm going to check out our little question space. We do have a couple minutes. We got 4 minutes to go before we wrap this up. And so if there are questions there, I will tackle them. And if not, then we will just move on. So I see here in one of the chats, right, the question which is, does this segmentation, is it specific to WooCommerce? And the answer to that, of course, is no, right? What we're talking about in terms of e-commerce segmentation, it can work with anyone, any kind of e-commerce. So if you're on Shopify, BigCommerce, whatever, segmenting your audience, understanding what they're buying, what they're doing, the reality of these different segments is that they exist on any platform, right? If we go back to our segments, where were we back here? Here, right? These people are not specific to a platform, right? I see another private chat question, which, by the way, you can use the question area too, right? Then we see it and control it, manage it from there. But this question is, for something like Glue or anything else, how is it working with the WooCommerce database? What's happening is the WooCommerce data is getting pulled via the API out. So it's not 100% real time, right? It's pulling it out depending on how much traffic and work you're doing on your store, but it is pulling it out and making a copy of that data into Glue, into our data mart, where we can slice and dice and do lots of stuff. Now, some people will go, oh, I'm not sure I want that. And my answer to you is yes, you do. Because if you don't do that, if you just do reporting against your WooCommerce database, every query, every suboptimal query, every research question you have is actually hitting and holding the data hostage in the midst of that query to that database, which means it's going to slow down what people are doing when they're trying to buy. You don't want your internal questions, your queries, your little like, hey, what happens if, or how many people have bought this in the last this many months? And you don't want that to affect your store's ability to close deals, right? So we take all of that processing off of the site. And some of these things can get complicated, right? When you want to say, hey, for big spenders, take all their orders, then take the average order value across each customer, then stack rank the customers, and then take me the top 10% and give me that data. If you were trying to do this against the real-time data in WooCommerce, you would slow everything down dramatically. You don't want to do that. That's not good for your store. So we do it off the store, and that has no performance impact on being able to do, a high performance, high traffic store. All right, I don't see any other questions in here. So with that, I will tell you, this has been recorded, and we're very excited to send this out to you so you have it. You can come back to it, look at it later. We think if you implement many of these things, you will get to a place where you say, wow, actually, I did drive my revenue up. I did see growth because of this webinar, and that would make us thrilled. You can always send us a note back and let us know how it did. So with that, I will let you go. My name again is Chris Lema. I'm at Liquid Web, where we've built a dedicated platform for your WooCommerce stores. Take care.